She wrapped her arms around herself, shivering as the wind whipped her hair across her face. The rain poured harder, soaking her dress, plastering it against her skin. That was how fate changed her life. Through the veil of rain, headlights split the darkness. A convoy approached, sleek black cars gliding to a stop just outside the mansion gates. Doors opened in unison, and guards dressed in black suits emerged, forming a wall of shadows. At their center, a man stepped out slowly, his presence commanding, his aura thick with danger.
Parkhan.
The rain came down like shards of broken glass, cutting through the night sky of Seoul. The city, usually glittering with neon lights and bustling with laughter, seemed to drown under the weight of the storm. Inside the tall, ivory-colored mansion that Anita now called home, silence cut sharper than the thunder outside. She had returned early that evening, exhausted from yet another long day of planning Taewon's elaborate birthday party. Her hands ached from typing proposals, her eyes stung from hours spent reviewing numbers, and her heart beat with a quiet pride. She had been giving everything, her education, her skills, her loyalty, to make this marriage work. Anita, a young woman from Ghana, had never imagined her life would bring her here. With her long black curls tied loosely, her dark ebony skin glowing faintly against the dim chandelier light, she wandered into the hallway. This was supposed to be her fairy tale, her happily ever after with Taewon, the charming Korean man she had met on Tinder. She had trusted him with her whole being, leaving behind family and friends in Accra, just to start over in a country she barely understood. Yet tonight, the walls whispered betrayal. She froze at the corner of the hallway. Taewon's voice, familiar, deep, once sweet to her ears, carried through the partly open door of his study. Another voice answered him, softer, feminine, dripping with tenderness. "I need her skills," Taewon said, frustration lacing his tone. "Anita is clever. She knows tech, business management. I can't build this company without her. But you know where my heart lies, Jiwoo. With you." The name struck Anita like a knife. Jiwoo. The woman he had sworn was just a friend. "You're going to end it after?" Jiwoo asked carefully, her Korean words rolling smooth, tinged with doubt. "Yes," Taewon replied without hesitation. "Once the papers are signed and the company is secured, Anita's role will be finished. I'll set her free." Set her free. Anita's lips parted in disbelief.
Her whole chest tightened.
She pressed her hand to her mouth to stop the sob threatening to spill out. Every sacrifice, every compromise she had made, reduced to nothing more than a transaction. The storm outside deepened, as though the heavens themselves protested. Anita stumbled backward, her heart hammering, but her feet carried her up the staircase, as if on instinct.
She didn't know why.
Maybe she wanted to confront him. Maybe she wanted to prove to herself that she had misheard. But when she pushed open the bedroom door, the truth glared back mercilessly. Jiwoo was there, on their bed, wrapped in silk sheets that Anita herself had bought. Taewon's hands tangled in Jiwoo's hair, his lips pressed against hers, their bodies moving with a rhythm that should have belonged only to Anita. Her scream was swallowed by thunder. Both of them turned, not with guilt, not with panic, but with annoyance, as though she were the intruder in her own marriage. "Anita," Taewon's voice was sharp, almost cold. "You weren't supposed to see this." Jiwoo smirked faintly, pulling the sheets higher around her chest. "I told you it was dangerous," she murmured in Korean. Anita's legs trembled. "Taewon, how could you?" Her voice cracked, filled with anguish. But instead of apologies, footsteps thundered behind her. Taewon's parents had arrived, their faces stern, cold as marble statues. "You should leave," his father said bluntly in Korean. "This is shameful enough. Do not make it worse." "Yes," his mother added, her gaze burning with disdain. "This house is not yours anymore." Anita's throat burned. "I am his wife. I left my whole life behind for him." But her words fell into silence. Taewon would not even meet her eyes. The door slammed behind her. Her luggage was tossed into the rain-soaked courtyard, her clothes spilling into puddles, darkening under the storm. She stood there, drenched, trembling, her mascara smearing into rivers down her cheeks. The mansion lights flickered above her, cold and unwelcoming, while her heart shattered in ways she could not even begin to comprehend. She wrapped her arms around herself, shivering as the wind whipped her hair across her face. The rain poured harder, soaking her dress, plastering it against her skin. That was how fate changed her life. Through the veil of rain, headlights split the darkness. A convoy approached, sleek black cars gliding to a stop just outside the mansion gates. Doors opened in unison, and guards dressed in black suits emerged, forming a wall of shadows. At their center, a man stepped out slowly, his presence commanding, his aura thick with danger.
Parkhan.
He wore a fitted black suit that clung to his tall frame. His jet-black hair was slicked back, raindrops sliding down effortlessly. On the corner of his neck, a thunderbolt tattoo glistened under the storm, marking him with power and mystery. He walked with deliberate calm, holding a single black umbrella above his head. Behind him, 200 guards stood like an army, their faces expressionless, their loyalty unquestionable. His gaze found Anita, trembling, soaked, abandoned at the gates. And something flickered in his eyes. Without a word, he stepped closer, opening the umbrella above her small frame. "You'll catch your death in this storm," Parkhan said, his deep voice vibrating through the air. Anita looked up, startled. His face was sharp, breathtaking, dangerous, the kind of man her mother had always warned her about. Yet in that moment, he was her only shelter. I don't need." Her words choked on her tears. "You do." His tone left no room for argument. He removed his suit jacket and draped it over her shoulders, shielding her from the rain. Warmth radiated through the fabric, chasing the chill from her bones. Behind him, his guards bent slightly, as though awaiting orders. Parkhan ignored them. His focus remained on Anita. "Come with me," he said softly, his gaze unwavering. "This place has thrown you away." "I won't." Her lips parted. Every part of her screamed, not to trust again, not to fall for another man's words. But the sincerity in his eyes shook her defenses. And when she finally let her trembling fingers touch his outstretched hand, the storm no longer felt so merciless. The convoy moved like a silent beast through the rain-drenched streets of Seoul. Anita sat in the back seat of a sleek black car, her wet curls sticking to her cheeks, her trembling hands gripping the lapels of Parkhan's jacket still draped over her shoulders. Outside, neon lights blurred through the rain-streaked windows, painting her face in streaks of crimson and blue. Inside, silence pressed down heavy, except for the steady hum of the engine and the rhythm of her shallow breaths. Parkhan sat beside her, legs crossed, posture sharp yet relaxed, like a predator who owned the world. His umbrella leaned against the door, drops of rain sliding down its surface. He glanced at her occasionally, his dark eyes unreadable. "You haven't stopped shaking," he finally said. His voice was deep, carrying an authority that made even the air obey. "Are you cold?" Anita hugged the jacket tighter. "No, just trying to understand how my life collapsed in one night." Her voice cracked at the end, and she quickly bit her lip. Parkhan didn't look away. "Then don't waste your energy trying to understand them. Betrayal rarely makes sense." Her head turned toward him sharply. "How do you know it was betrayal?" For the first time, he smiled faintly, almost bitterly. "I could see it in your eyes the moment I walked up. I've seen it before." The weight of his words silenced her. She wanted to ask him how and when, but his aura told her he was not a man who revealed his scars easily. When the car slowed, Anita's breath caught. Parkhan's home rose before her like a fortress in the heart of the city, a towering estate of steel and glass, perched high above the Han River. Lights glowed softly in the rain, reflecting on the water below. 200 guards lined the driveway, bowing slightly as the car pulled in. Anita's throat tightened. She had never seen such power, such wealth, not even in Taewon's arrogant mansion. The car door opened, and Parkhan stepped out first, extending his hand for her. "Come." Anita hesitated. Every instinct screamed not to trust him. But with nowhere else to go, no one else to turn to, she placed her hand in his. His grip was firm, steady, grounding. Inside, the mansion was a study in elegance and authority, marble floors, glass chandeliers, walls adorned with modern art. Yet despite its grandeur, there was a strange warmth in the air. A woman in a crisp black uniform approached, bowing respectfully. "Master Han, welcome home." Her gaze flickered curiously to Anita, but she asked no questions. "Prepare a guest room," Parkhan instructed without looking away from Anita. "And bring her something warm to wear." "Yes, sir." Anita opened her mouth to protest, but he silenced her with a look. "You'll stay here tonight," Parkhan said simply. "I don't need your charity," she whispered fiercely. He leaned closer, his breath brushing her ear, sending shivers down her spine. "This isn't charity. It's protection. If I leave you out there, they'll crush you completely. And I don't like seeing people broken by cowards." Her heart thudded, her resolve wavering. The room was larger than her entire apartment back in Ghana. Warm beige walls, a king-sized bed with silk sheets, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river. It was a palace. A set of fresh clothes had been laid out, a soft cotton sweater and matching pants. Anita changed, the comfort of dry clothes wrapping around her like a fragile sense of safety. But when she caught her reflection in the mirror, red, swollen eyes, curls tangled and damp, her skin blotched from tears, the illusion shattered. She sat on the edge of the bed, hugging her knees. Images of Taewon and Jiwoo flooded her mind. Their bodies entwined, his parents' voices cold, his silence more cutting than any blade. Her chest tightened until she could barely breathe. Then a soft knock. "Come in," she murmured hoarsely. The door opened. Parkhan stepped inside, carrying a tray with steaming tea. His presence filled the room instantly. He set the tray on the bedside table and sat in the chair opposite her. "You didn't eat," he said. "I'm not hungry." He poured the tea anyway, sliding the cup toward her.
"Drink.
"It will calm you." Anita hesitated, then wrapped her hands around the cup. The warmth seeped into her frozen fingers. She sipped slowly, the bitter taste grounding her. Parkhan leaned back, studying her silently. "Why are you helping me?" she finally asked. Her voice trembled, equal parts fear and suspicion. "You don't even know me." His gaze lingered on her, piercing yet soft. "Maybe I don't know you, but I know what it feels like to be betrayed. And I don't leave people to drown in storms when I can pull them out." Her lips parted, words failing. For the first time in hours, her tears slowed. Silence stretched between them, heavy but not uncomfortable. Anita set the cup down, her eyes meeting his. "You should rest," he said quietly, standing. But as he moved to leave, Anita's voice caught him. "Parkhan." He turned, one eyebrow raised. Her throat worked. "Thank you." Something flickered in his gaze, surprise, maybe even warmth. He gave a faint nod, then walked out, closing the door softly behind him. Anita lay back against the pillows, her heart confused, her mind reeling. She had lost everything tonight. Her marriage, her dignity, her place in Seoul. Yet somehow, she had been found by a stranger with thunder in his eyes. And she didn't know whether to fear him or to trust him. Morning light spilled into the guest room, brushing Anita's skin with warmth she didn't feel. Her eyes opened slowly, red-rimmed, but clearer than the night before. For a moment she forgot where she was, until she turned and saw the vast window overlooking Seoul's skyline, the Han River glittering under the sun. Reality returned like a slap.
Taewon.
Jiwoo. The storm. And Parkhan. She sat up abruptly, clutching the silk sheets to her chest. Everything about this place screamed danger, power too sharp, wealth too polished. And the man who had brought her here was a stranger with thunderbolt tattoos and an army of guards. Yet he had given her shelter. He had spoken to her with a strange gentleness. And her heart, traitor that it was, had felt safer in his presence than in Taewon's mansion. When Anita stepped out of the guest room, She found the house alive with quiet movement. Guards stood discreetly in corners, staff moved with efficiency. Yet all bowed slightly as she passed, as though she carried some unspoken authority. Her stomach growled faintly, reminding her she hadn't eaten in nearly 24 hours. She followed the faint aroma of food until she reached a vast dining hall. Parkhan was already seated at the head of the long table, dressed in another immaculate black suit. A plate of fresh fruit, rice porridge, and steaming broth sat before him. "Good morning," he said without looking up from the newspaper he was skimming. His voice was calm, but it filled the room effortlessly. Anita hesitated at the doorway. "I didn't want to intrude." He folded the newspaper neatly and finally met her eyes. "You're not intruding. Sit." The way he said it, not harsh, not pleading but final, left no room for refusal. Anita took a seat at his right. A maid appeared instantly, setting a plate of food before her. She picked at the fruit, her appetite stubbornly absent despite her hunger. Parkhan studied her. "You should eat. Last night would have drained anyone." Anita set her fork down, frustration bubbling. "Why do you care? You don't even know me." For a heartbeat, silence. Then he leaned back, eyes narrowing with curiosity. "Do you want me not to care?" Her lips parted, caught off guard. "That's not the point." "Then what is?" His gaze was sharp, dissecting her defenses. "The point is," she faltered, heat rising in her chest. "Men who claim to care usually want something in return. I've learned that the hard way." Parkhan's expression didn't change, but his voice dropped lower, more deliberate. "Do not mistake me for Taewon." Her breath caught at the mention of that name. Anger surged, hot and bitter. She turned away, gripping her fork tightly. "I don't trust easily anymore," she whispered. "Good." Parkhan sipped his tea calmly. "Trust is a weapon and you shouldn't hand it over cheaply. Especially not to men like him." The way he said men like him sent a shiver through her. He knew more than he let on. Later, Anita wandered into the garden, a sprawling courtyard of stone lanterns and cherry blossoms. She let the breeze cool her face, her thoughts spiraling between past and present. She didn't hear Parkhan approach until his shadow fell across her. "You're thinking too much," he said. She jumped slightly, turning. "Do you always sneak up on people?" His lips curved faintly. "Only when they're lost in storms." Her chest tightened. He was too good with words, too careful with his presence. He stood close enough that she could smell his cologne, sharp, clean, dangerously addictive. "Stop looking at me like that," she blurted before she could stop herself. His brows arched. "Like what? Like you know me. Like you want something from me." Parkhan leaned in just slightly, his eyes dark. "Maybe I do." Her breath hitched. Heat rushed up her neck. For a moment, the world narrowed to just him, the thunderbolt tattoo at his throat, the faint scar above his brow, the intensity of his gaze. His hand lifted, almost brushing her cheek. Then he stopped, pulling back with measured control. "Not yet," he murmured. The air crackled between them, charged unfinished. That evening, Anita accidentally overheard a conversation between Parkhan and one of his men in the study. "The rival group is moving against us," the man said. "They've been buying into Tae Group shares. It's only a matter of time." Anita's breath stilled.
Tae Group.
Taewon's family business. Parkhan's reply was ice cold. "Let them try. I want every detail of their transactions. I won't let them expand their corruption further." Anita backed away before they noticed her, her heart racing. So this was it. Parkhan wasn't just powerful, he was dangerous. He was a man at war, both in the boardroom and on the streets. And somehow, her ex-husband's family was tangled in it. Fate was pushing her toward revenge, whether she wanted it or not. That night, Anita couldn't sleep. She paced her room, the city lights flickering beyond the window. Finally, she stepped out into the balcony for air, only to find Parkhan already there, leaning against the railing with a glass of whiskey in hand. "Can't sleep?" he asked without turning. "Too many ghosts," she admitted softly. He glanced at her, then held out the glass. "One sip. It'll quiet them." She hesitated, then took it. The liquid burned her throat, but it steadied her nerves. When she handed the glass back, their fingers brushed. She froze, every nerve in her body alive. Parkhan's gaze dropped to her lips. Slowly, deliberately, he leaned closer. The world stilled, her pulse hammering in her ears. Just as their lips almost touched, a guard appeared at the doorway. Master Han. Urgent call. Parkhan's jaw tightened, his gaze lingering on her for one more heartbeat. Then he pulled away, cold composure snapping back into place. Another time, he said quietly before disappearing into the shadows. Anita stood frozen, her heart a battlefield of fear, desire, and confusion. She didn't want to fall again. She didn't want to trust. But the storm inside her was growing, and this time, it wasn't pain. It was something else. Something dangerously close to love. The week passed in a blur of shifting emotions. Days at Parkhan's mansion blurred between the safety of his protection and the danger of his world. Nights carried tension, lingering gazes, unfinished touches, whispers of something neither dared name aloud. But fate, as always, refused to stay silent. It happened on a crisp evening. Anita had gone with Parkhan to one of his corporate buildings, a towering skyscraper overlooking Seoul. She wore one of the elegant dresses his staff had picked for her, the silk hugging her curves, her curls pinned into a graceful bun. She looked nothing like the broken woman who had been cast into the storm. As they stepped into the marble lobby, a familiar voice called out, "Anita?" Her body stiffened. She turned. Taewon stood there, shock etched across his face. Jiwoo clung to his arm, her expression twisting at the sight of Anita by Parkhan's side. "Taewon," Anita said, her voice calm, almost cold. "Still chasing after shadows?" He blinked, his eyes darting between her and Parkhan. "What are you doing here? With him?" Parkhan stepped forward, his presence filling the space like thunder. "She doesn't answer to you anymore." The tattoo at his neck glistened under the lights. Taewon's face paled slightly, recognition dawning. "You," Taewon stammered. "You're the one threatening our shares. You've been after my family's company." Parkhan's lips curved faintly.
Correct.
"And now, fate has given me something else your greed discarded." His arm slid around Anita's waist, pulling her subtly against him. Her heart skipped, but she held Taewon's gaze, unflinching. Jiwoo sneered. "So, this is your revenge? Taking her as your toy?" Anita's eyes narrowed.
No, Jiwoo.
"This is me realizing I was never the toy. I was the prize you couldn't see." The sharpness of her words silenced them both. Later, in a private boardroom, Taewon's parents arrived, their faces masks of disdain. "You disgrace us, Anita," his mother hissed. "Parading with this criminal." "Criminal?" Anita cut in, her voice steady.
No.
"The real criminals are the ones who used me, discarded me, and threw me into the rain like trash. And now you're losing your company because of the very greed that blinded you." Her words sliced through the air. Taewon's father's jaw clenched. Parkhan spoke then, his tone razor-sharp. "The Tae family built their empire on lies and manipulation. You thought no one would rise against you. Consider this the beginning of your end." The room trembled with his authority. Taewon's parents exchanged glances, for once, powerless. Anita stood tall, her ebony skin glowing under the boardroom lights, her chin lifted with pride. For the first time, she felt her own strength. That night, back at the mansion, Anita stood on the balcony, overlooking the river. The air was cool, her heart still racing from the confrontation.
Footsteps approached.
She didn't need to turn to know it was him. "You were magnificent today," Parkhan said softly. "I've seen men crumble before your ex's parents. But you..." He stepped closer, his breath brushing her neck. "You were fire." Anita's lips trembled. "I was only telling the truth." He turned her gently to face him.
No.
"You were reclaiming your worth." And I, his gaze burned into hers. "I've been waiting for a woman who doesn't bend." Her breath hitched. His hand cupped her jaw, calloused fingers tender against her skin. "Parkhan," she whispered. "Don't fight it anymore, Anita," he murmured. Don't punish me for his sins. Her resolve crumbled under the weight of his voice, his eyes, his presence. For the first time in weeks, she wanted to let go.
To trust.
When his lips claimed hers, the world fell away. The kiss was not gentle, it was raw, desperate, possessive. His arms wrapped around her, pulling her against him, as though he could fuse her broken pieces back together. She melted into him, her fingers clutching his suit, her heart finally daring to beat freely again. When they finally broke apart, breathless, his forehead rested against hers. "You're mine now," he whispered, "and I don't let go of what I love." Anita's chest tightened. Tears pricked her eyes, not of sorrow, but of release. "I don't want to be someone's paper marriage ever again," she said shakily. "If I'm yours, then it has to be real." Parkhan's thumb brushed her cheek, wiping away the single tear that escaped. "With me, Anita, everything is real." News spread within weeks. Tay Group stocks plummeted under Parkhan's relentless strategies. Investors pulled out, Jiwoo disappeared from the limelight, and Taewon, stripped of pride and fortune, became a shadow of the man who once threw Anita into the storm. But Anita no longer looked back. Her days were spent rebuilding her career, with Parkhan quietly providing resources, but never overshadowing her. Her nights were filled with stolen kisses, whispered confessions, and the kind of love that grew from scars, not illusions. One evening, as the city glowed below them, Parkhan held her hand tightly. "Storms bring ruin," he murmured, "but they also bring lightning. And sometimes, lightning is love." Anita leaned into him, her heart steady for the first time, then let it strike again and again. And as his lips found hers once more, she knew this was not the end of her story. It was the beginning.